Today's video is sponsored by Coconut Monkey Electronics for custom handmade pickups in a variety of cool colors and materials and custom rewinds. Check out their website and take their perfect pickup quiz. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel, and I sure appreciate it.
Hey y'all, it's Shed Post Friday.
Hey, how's it going, dudes? Brad the Guitarologist here. This is intended to be a Shit Post Friday video, but I may not make the Friday deadline, so maybe this will be a Shit Post Saturday video. At any rate, I wanted to cover some new Gibson news. Apparently, on the 30th, whatever day that was, I don't know, it's been about a week now, I guess. New York Times came out with an article on Gibson, and Henry Juszkiewicz said some interesting things in this article, actually. He, for one thing, he seems to be acknowledging a couple of things that I've speculated on here on this channel, one of which being that he is probably going to be ousted as the CEO of the company. So he is basically acknowledged that. He's acknowledged that some of his decision making has been bad, such as trying to make Gibson into a music lifestyle company, which is really big news, actually, because if he is acknowledging that that was a bad move, then he is acknowledging the failure of Gibson as a music lifestyle brand. So if he's acknowledging that as a failure, maybe that means even if he does stay on at Gibson, he's going to stop calling Gibson a music lifestyle brand, right? I mean, that would only stand to reason. If he admits that it was a failure, then he would have to stop referring to it as that, right? Yeah, the other interesting thing that he said, once again, he acknowledges that he may end up being ousted as the CEO, and that, you know, the creditors of Gibson are actually not interested in trying to refinance or restructure the existing debt. So he's also admitting that, which is big news, because that means that they are 100% going to be headed for bankruptcy, Chapter 11. And during the restructuring, he's acknowledged that the creditors are trying to take over the Gibson brand. So what this means is a couple of things. First of all, I was right that Gibson is headed for bankruptcy. Second of all, Juszkiewicz is not going to be the CEO after all is said and done, because if the creditors don't want him to be CEO, there's no way a judge is going to let him continue to be CEO of that company and go through Chapter 11 and restructure that debt. The chances of that happening are almost zero. And this is just based on similar things that have happened to other companies that I'm aware of in the past. So, you know, it is like a 99% certainty Henry Juszkiewicz is not going to be the CEO. He's acknowledged that. Interestingly, let's see, I can't find the quote now. Where is it? But yeah, here's the quote that he said on in regard to making Gibson a lifestyle music brand. He said, "No, it wasn't a great decision." He's referring to the decision to purchase part of Royal Philips in 2014. He's saying, "No, it wasn't a great decision. It didn't work out very well. I think it was a rational decision, but it turned out to be a very poor decision, and it's a decision I made. It is what it is." Now, the article kind of says that the reason that Gibson has failed in this venture is because of a collapse in the euro, which doesn't explain the whole scenario. I think, you know, more likely Gibson just had no business buying up these types of companies and trying to run them simultaneously alongside a guitar brand. It doesn't make any sense to be doing that. And the guitar brand Gibson itself was the collateral, more or less, for the purchase of these other companies. So the sale of the guitars was supposed to prop up this purchase, and then the sales of guitars went down. So, I mean, you know, all that's ancient history, but it's just interesting that he's finally acknowledging his fault. He says in regard to the RoboTuner fiasco, it's a great technology, but he went on to say the trolls took over the dialogue. And he says, "My regret is we probably pushed a little too fast." Yeah, how about, you pushed at all? You shouldn't, you shouldn't have to push people if the product is good, right? You shouldn't have to push. It should be your customers flock to you because you have something, it's worthwhile. Okay, here's what he says in regard to probably not continuing to be the CEO of this company much longer. He said the bondholders are not concerned about getting paid. They're not concerned about getting paid. This is what sharks do to companies. They say, okay, yeah, you want to venture out and you want to expand and you want to do this stupid thing that you're about to embark on, we know is going to fail. Here's enough rope to hang yourself with. Here's a few $1,000,000, and we're going to get your company at bargain basement price as a result, right? And he just walked right into it. He just walked right into it on this ridiculous notion that Gibson Guitars, a company that's been producing guitars and mandolins and stringed instruments for over 100 years, is going to suddenly venture into being Onkyo, or doing digital audio workstations and stuff like that, that they can pull that off. One manager can pull off all of that. Just silly. Just really silly, man. This is going to be studied. This stuff is going to be studied in business, because Gibson is a... this is why, anytime I put something up about Gibson, any kind of commentary about Gibson as a company and where they're headed and what's going on with them, those posts tend to get a lot of hits because people are interested to see what's going to happen to this iconic Gibson brand that they grew up with, their grandfathers grew up with, that their grandfathers' fathers probably grew up with back in the mandolin days. It's a popular subject because Gibson is such an iconic brand, and this is going to be studied. His failure at Gibson, this is all going to be studied in business classes, I'm certain. But here's what he says about his creditors. They are more interested in owning the company, he said. That's an ownership play. He did not elaborate further. So it's kind of funny, because he admits that the creditors are trying to gain ownership of his company, okay, or gain a controlling stake or whatever, but he also says he's hopeful about refinancing efforts. Well, how is he going to be able to do that if he acknowledges, on the other hand, that they're trying to take over the company, which I think they are, and that was the whole reason they loaned him the money to begin with. Any idiot could see this coming from a mile away. It's sad that he didn't. It makes sense on paper that you want to diversify your company because, guitars might not be in popular music for much longer, and maybe we have to get into keyboards, or maybe we have to get into digital stuff. We have to get into something, some consumer electronics or something to diversify that we can kind of fall back on in case this guitar thing doesn't work out. It's kind of like on a personal level when guitar players, they go get a day job because, what if being a rock star doesn't work out? What if I can't be a rock star? And what if this stripper stops paying all my bills that I'm living with? What if she decides to kick my ass out? I better get a day job. So it's smart on paper, but at the same time, the guy who was doing he might have been doing really well. Now he can't make band practice because he's got to go to his day job. So this is kind of the Henry Juszkiewicz catch-22 here. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. And he's certainly damned now. And this is interesting because he finally acknowledges that he's damned. I will put a link to this New York Times article down in the description so you can go read it and shake your heads at it just like I have. But yeah, interesting stuff. And an unrelated thing, since it's a Shitpost Friday, I thought I would talk to you about something that's kind of been on my mind lately. The other day I got a phone call. I was on the phone with my mother. This is something I probably shouldn't even talk about, even in a shitpost, because I don't know. This is it's kind of an uncomfortable thing to talk about because it involves the growth of this channel, and I'm thankful for the wild growth of this channel over the past year. It's really blown up, and I kind of wasn't even expecting it to ever get like this. But it's kind of gotten to the point where it's not invaded my personal life or anything like that, because I appreciate when anytime, obviously, I appreciate when anybody has, wants to call me about sales or wants to send me an amp for repair or something like that, I'm always appreciative of those calls, don't get me wrong. But I was on the phone with my mother the other day, and she had just gotten out of the hospital and she had surgeries, and I was on the phone with her trying to see how she was doing. I don't even get a chance to talk to her that much. We don't talk as much as we should, and this was one of the few times that we have talked on the phone in a little while, and I was trying to just speak with her and stuff, and I noticed I was getting a call in, and it was from a number I didn't recognize. So I let it go to voicemail, as I have taken to do with all my calls. I have to screen my calls now because I get so many. I can't keep up with it all. So I let it go to voicemail, and if somebody is truly serious about something, obviously they'll leave a voicemail. That's my philosophy on it. But I've left my number published and everything, and I encourage people to call me if they have a genuine sales question, or if they want to send me an amp or something. By all means, give me a holler and leave a message, and I'll call you back. But okay, so I look at my phone and it's a number I don't recognize, so I let it go to voicemail, and then they call again, like immediately, like right after it hangs up, they call back again, and then they did that like 3 more times. And I was thinking to myself, who in the hell is this person? How I would never, first of all, I would never do that to anyone, even if it was somebody I knew personally. It's just it's call me old-fashioned, but it's a throwback to the days when people weren't rude, I guess, because that's what this was to me. It's like, dude, I'm talking to my mother, and I'm getting a call from the same number like 4 times straight. I was thinking to myself, well, maybe my voicemail is broken or something like that. But still, even if that's the case, I'll notice that the voicemail is broken, and I'll call the number back in a little bit. Why would somebody presume to call like 4 times straight? It's just crazy. That's an extreme example. So at the end, I finally answered the call, and I was like, hello. And this gentleman started, rattling off what he wanted, which was had to do with amplifiers and the YouTube channel and all this stuff. And again, I love hearing about all that stuff. I really do. I love hearing about everybody's amps that they've gotten, and the history and the things that they love and the passions that we share, obviously, on this channel. But when it gets to that point where it's really just needy and invasive, there's a line that can't be crossed. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm sure other YouTubers probably struggle with this, and they probably never say anything about it because it is a touchy thing. It's like, I don't want to discourage you guys from contacting me or any of that stuff. But you'll notice a few of the larger people. I've noticed there was one guy. Who was it? It was the 8-bit guy. I subscribed to his channel. And he said something about this one time. He said, here's my daily routine. I go and, as soon as I get up, I shower and I do this. And I sit down at my computer and I go through all the emails. And believe me, I get a lot of them. And he was kind of going through, and I do too. But he has like, 500,000-600,000 subscribers. I only have 40,000. So I'm sure that there's a big difference there. But I can empathize a bit with what he's talking about, because you get a lot of them, and you're trying to read through everyone. You're trying to be diligent about it. Sometimes an email will slip through the cracks, or a voicemail sometimes will slip through the cracks. And my phone is weird too. Sometimes it doesn't leave me voicemails. It doesn't show that I have one until like days later. And then it's like, hey, you had a voicemail. I'm looking at it. It's like Tuesday, and now it's Thursday. That actually just happened to me. So that's a pain in the ass. But what I'm really getting at here is, if I don't get back to you immediately, if you call me and you're trying to inquire about sales, you're trying to inquire about a repair job or something like that, I do try to diligently at least answer everyone, if only to say no thank you, And if you haven't heard from me, there's a good chance that I just didn't see it, or there's a good chance that your email might have been just too long, and I had something else to do in the middle, like I had to change a diaper, or I forgot 2 paragraphs in and I closed it out thinking, oh, I'll read the rest later, but then it shows as I've already read it, in my feed, so I forget to go back to it. There's just things that happen. But this was kind of bordering on, I'm not going to say creepy, because I don't think the guy had creepy intent. It was one of those things. It was almost what would you call it? Almost a almost an Asperger's or an autism thing. It's like you don't understand the social boundaries there. You know, I have a life, and if I don't answer the phone, leave a voicemail and I'll call you back. I mean, that should be obvious, but I'm a regular person. I'm not some public figure. Please don't presume that I am. But I will call you back, dude. You know, I'm just a regular dude, and if you leave me a voicemail, I will call you back. So, anyway, Shitpost Friday. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Please leave a comment down below. What do you think about the Gibson thing? Because I think it's very revealing that finally Henry Juszkiewicz is acknowledging some of the things that I've been saying on this channel, and I'm sure other people have been saying as well. But this was the first time that I had seen him admit any mistakes, for one, and also admit that he's probably not going to be the CEO much longer, and that the creditors that lent them all this money are coming after the company and not necessarily interested in him paying the money back. So let me know what you think about all that down below, and for now, y'all take care.